The heart pumps blood to the rest of the body. This is a pretty basic fundamental of medicine. But what if I change that a little bit here? The heart, the cardia, pumps blood, the haima, out to the rest of the body. It probably sounds excessively fitting for the sage based off of medicine. We've already discussed the cardia skill of the sage, which I know you already know means the heart, but in this video it's time to really talk about the blood that is pumped from the heart, or as the sage's tooltips say, the haima. Haima is an ancient Greek word that was then changed eventually over time to haima, like hemoglobin, or in more familiar terms, it's referring to blood. With the sage's cardiovascular system of healing, the heart pumps the blood, and these two abilities that I am showing right now have in my eyes been fully solved and are fundamental for the sage's toolkit and are intimately tied to the cardia system. Are we wanting to change damage into AOE healing? Are we wanting to change it into cleave healing? You darn well bet I want that. So for a quick second, let's take a detour down Astrologian Road, and how this is going to be relevant to the sage in this video will make sense in a moment, but let's briefly touch over the Ast card system. So the Ast is a pure healer and Endwalker and has the entire pure healer toolkit with the hybrid ability Neutral Sect, which is fundamentally the diurnal Ast that we have in the game today. Currently today, 32 separate abilities make up the Ast kit in total, and I'm not including the bonus card effects, which simply tell you what a bowl or spire card does, but out of these 32 abilities, 7 of them are related to the card system in some way. Play, draw, undraw, redraw, minor arcana, divination, and sleeve draw. This basic system is introduced early and then expanded to level 70 where you have all 7 of these tools. Now back to the sage, the cardia system is Sage's Cardia system. I'm so sorry I had to do that. With the Ast, we're seeing card draw, play, shuffle, the seals mechanics, and while they are being changed in Endwalker, the Astro clearly retains that complexity and mechanic interplay as we saw from the footage. This gauge is still going to give new players that have no idea what it means nightmares. My point is the Sage with the Cardia system is similar. That is their unique trait. That is their unique in the background system, which really got me to thinking. The only tooltip that we have confirmed at this point that interacts with the Cardia system is Soteria, which is very powerful. It doubles the potency of the Cardia effect. But just this? This is incredibly weird and it doesn't add up. Only one ability to interact with it? Oh no. And I'm sure after I went over the 7 different Ast skills currently in game that people are of the same mind. It's just like one ability? No. But now let's go over these abilities and what they're doing on the hotbar to learn their mechanics. We're talking now about Haima and Panhaima, better known as your single target cleave, which will allow you to heal 2 targets with Cardia's damaging effect, or Panhaima that is going to do the same thing but entire party, so this is turning your damage into AOE healing. And I know that I have a lot of people's attention now, so oh my god, I better do a good job here. Both Haima and Panhaima are on their own cooldowns and off of the global cooldown. Neither trigger the GCD cycle as we can see in the footage, which means that both are fully weavable. Since all of the Sage's damage spells are either on a 1.5 second or on an instant, we know that we are going to have at least a 1 second window by default to weave in a ability like this. And while I realize that that's going to be super obvious to anyone listening to this video, that is actually a very important point. If they interrupted the damage spell casts, I'd have to toss this entire idea out because that would remove this energy, and then I'd be like, that doesn't make sense. Next up is that there is no triple dipping. As you can see in the footage, you can obviously double dip. You can apply Haima or Panhaima to a target that already has Cardia on them. We're seeing Haima cast first and then Panhaima cast after, and we can see that this is going to literally overwrite the other one. The Panhaima is completely overriding both the barrier component and then the 5-stack component of Haima. I might be getting a little bit ahead of people and people are like, wait, what? Because trust me, I had to spend my time translating and I've had a lot of help, and thank you to everyone that helped me so much, thank you. But literally what this means is we have Haima, which we know is Haima blood, and then Pan is going to be the Greek word for all, and so all blood, so that's the AoE one. For the 5-stack of the Haima buff, we're looking at the character meaning seal, or alternatively it can be interpreted as stack, so it's like a blood seal or a blood stack. For both of these buffs, they're going to apply a microscopic shield, such a small shield that I'd say that it's negligible, but even if we look at the current Ast shields and their HP par and compare it, I actually had to ask in Limbs, like, would someone join my party? And someone, thank you, did. But you can like compare like how much shield you're seeing on my bar. It's like it's clearly like half of a nocturnal intersection, so I'm guesstimating like 200 potency. But this isn't that weird. Take Nocturnal Astrologian right now that is a berry healer and is equivalent to much more interesting for this discussion than like a diurnal, we can see for its intersection effect, celestial intersection effect, that it's going to apply an initial 200 potency joke of a heal, but the main thing that you're wanting there is the ticking regen with a potency of 150 that's going to add up a lot over time. Or even if you look at the effect of celestial opposition, it too has an incredibly minor 200 potency initial tick. So this minor bonus that we are seeing right now in the Sage gameplay footage is currently seen in-game in some forms, and it actually does make sense. So this barrier is tied to the baseline Haima or Panhaima buff, but just like celestial opposition or nocturnal opposition, you're not really looking at it being the main reason you're using the skill. This is just a extra little side bonus to get you ahead. So talking about the main reason you're using these abilities is these 5 stacks of Haima and Panhaima. This is why those buffs completely overrode one another. They serve to do either single target versus AOE variants of the same goal. Like I said before, you're not allowed to triple dip. You can double dip just fine. Like imagine like a main tank, you want to like just burst their healing a little bit similar to Ass Sinistry, more on that in a bit. You could just apply it on top of Cardia this. But when we're talking about what is the actual effect of this, my complete theory that I am like 99.9% convinced is that this is going to multiply the effect of Cardia's 170 potency heal onto allies. Each one of these stacks is going to be translated into 170 potency of healing when you use a damaging ability or at the end of the effect's duration. More on that in like a minute. But like this is why you are limited to 5 stacks of Haima and Panhaima. That's why these buffs completely overrode one another. Really to make sure that you don't go over the top with the effect. 5 times 170 is going to be 850 potency of healing, and if you watch the footage at the very end of this effect's duration, you can see that you're getting 13194 as a healing. Now if we pull up some earlier footage, we can see Fizz's, which is quoted at 100 potency per tick, is about 1650. Simple division is going to suggest that Panhaima is 850 potency. And now while this might seem very odd to people who haven't played a lot of Scholar, I have seen this effect. I've seen it many times. Scholar's Excog will proc at the end of effect if it's not used. Like if the tank's HP or whoever you applied doesn't have their HP dip below 50%, at the end of the effect's duration, it's going to give you that full burst heal at the end, just so that you don't feel terrible, because initial Excog really kind of sucked if it didn't proc. It was like, wow, I wasted that. So I can definitely see the same thing here as Excog with Haima and Panhaima. So this is what cements this idea even further in my mind. The math adds up even at the end. 5 times 170 for each of the individual procs is 850. The proc at the end is about 850 potency healing. Now I get that people are going to be like, wow, that's so broken, but and there is no denying that it is a pretty substantial effect, but this is on a long 2-minute cooldown timer. If you like time out things and look like, oh, it's 30 seconds from Panhaima falling off, and then you look at the tooltips, you can see 30 seconds pass, it's a quarter way down, multiplied by 4, that's 120 seconds, 2 minutes. But another way that it's balanced is that this triggered effect at the very end of this big burst, that is explicitly because the timer ran out. Haima and Pineapple literally are not abilities that you can trigger again, like Astrologian's Horoscope. You can activate Horoscope, and then you can activate it immediately after for a burst heal if you really want. You don't get that option here. It's like either you are funneling out damage abilities or you're waiting 30 seconds. 30 seconds of not casting damage abilities in a raid? Ooh, I don't know how much of a fan your raid would be of that. Now people might wonder, what is the single target for, that Haima ability? And it's for something that's very important but not talked about nearly enough. It's for cleave healing, and this is something that so few people talk about on the Ast as a perk. I mean, yeah, the scenarios that you need to use it aren't that many, but I know that for a fact, Diamond Weapon, when it's doing those dual tank busters, that was such a big fan. I was such a big fan of that ability. But on 120-second cooldowns, they can use the ability called Sinistry that copies 40% of the healing effect onto another party member. Of course, that's 40% effect. That is very important to note here. It is definitely nerfed, but we're talking about any single target heals multiplied for the Ast over a particular duration. That's not restricted. Like, that is far less restrictive than 4 specific damaging abilities cast for 170 potency by the Sage. The point is, my point is that the Sage is getting a cleave. And like, is anyone gonna be like an 850 cleave potency? Is that gonna break the game? No, it's not. But you can bet that it's gonna enable you to do more DPS, absolutely. Now let's talk about the power of the AOE one. That's super powerful, right? I mean, sure, maybe a single cleave is not gonna be that big of a thing, but this AOE is definitely strong. And what if I was super transparent here and told you that I've been scratching my head at what the Sage's actual answer to Seraph is? I've been saying Numa, initially that was really what I believed. It's, however, is a level 90 ability, and through the Sage Sage and Scholar toolkits, you can really see that abilities line up with the exact same effect on Sage and Scholar. Like Physis is literally Whispering Dawn, Holism is literally Fey Blessing, it is literally like a 1-to-1 of the kits. But Numa is level 90, and so this really bugged me. I'm like, what the hell's this? Scholar's big fairy, the Seraph, which is a huge healing powerhouse with the berries and that, no doubt it is a huge thing. But this area of effect, Panhaima, is a level 70 skill of the Sage. I'm so close to being like, oh god, like I'm 99.9% sure of this, guys. I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, this is so strong, but when I look at Seraph and using Seraph, when I bring out that fairy in actual content, that is such an incredibly powerful move. In fact, I would argue that Panhaima is significantly weaker for a same 2-minute cooldown timer. It's like, yeah, you get that initial little 200 potency barrier on everyone, that's a joke, but would I give it up? No, 200 more potency, I will not give up, but it's not even close to the same realm. It's like Constellation, spam 1, and then you spam it a second time. That alone is more shielding. Not to mention the Seraph is constantly volleying out spells for those 20 seconds that it's out. I don't really count the extra 2 seconds since the delay is added, but you know what I mean. And so for me, I see this incredibly in scope and very reasonable, actually. I really want to have this one last note, is that one thing that does make this also make so much more sense is that undeniably healing through damage is incredibly similar to World of Warcraft's Disciplined Priest that I played and honestly loved. Hence my confident or arrogant confidence that I say that I love the Sage in 14. Like, guys, I've already played it, the type of it, and I loved it to bits. I've wanted it in 14 for a long time. But the main point I'm having to make here is that the Disciplined Priest had the ability called Power Word Radiance that applied Atonement, which you can think about as exactly the same thing as Cardia, to all allies temporarily. This was balanced through its long cooldown and reduced duration. In 14, much longer cooldown, 2-minute cooldown, and then duration, quote unquote, is in its limited cap of 5 abilities. And so I'm seeing these parallels smack me in the face and going like, oh, this is totally that. So really combining all of these reasons together, all of them, is why I'm 99.9% convinced, completely convinced actually, that Haima and Panhaima are going to be minor shield applying effects that have the primary purpose of being weaved off the GCD to further enhance the Cardia system. The heart, the Cardia, pumps blood, the Haima, out to the rest of the body. It's excessively fitting for the Sage, actually, that is based off of medicine. I actually really think that this is badass.